Okay, we are now recording. So welcome to today's Silicon Valley Rainbow Rotary Club meeting. We are very excited that you're here with us, and thank you for previously introducing yourselves. So we'll just talk a little bit about the Rotary Club in general, and then about the Silicon Valley Rainbow Club. So it started, the Rainbow Club in general started in 1905 with the goal of bringing people together to form friendships. And then it launched into humanitarian work sometime shortly after it started. Our club started meeting in January of 2019. We chartered in 2019 as well, late in 2019, and had planned a big chartering party, but then the pandemic hit. So we still have to make that up when we're able to be together. We're the second LGBTQ plus focused Rotary Club in the world. The other one is up in San Francisco, which is not very surprising. And we do host some of, or attend some of their events and collaborate with them when we can. We meet the first and third should be Wednesday, not Tuesday. First club meeting is with speaker, and then the third one is our social, and you'll hear about our May social coming up here in a few slides. Things that we've done and are doing, we do a monthly meal at the New Haven LGBTQ plus homeless shelter. So Sandy, who introduced herself first just a little while ago, is the lead for that. And so we're always looking for people to help create meals or pick up food and bring to the homeless shelter. So if that's something you're interested in, let us know. We've done a donation drive, we've done food drives, and we've done a lot of other kinds of humanitarian things, not just for the LGBTQ plus community, but the broader San Jose and even beyond San Jose community. The four-way test is how we conduct ourselves. And so we ask, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And so these are the things that orient us when we are working together. Some links here, and I'll put these in the chat, or maybe somebody can put some of this information in the chat later today, but this is how you find us. We have a Facebook page, website. Frances, who is also on the call, is our meetup gal. She posts all our events on our meetup space. Rourke creates a newsletter, and so if you're interested in getting copied on our newsletter, you can go there to sign up. And we have a Gmail account that you can email us. And as Sandy mentioned, we are doing a project. Rourke is leading this, and Sandy, or Sandra, who's also on, is involved, as are many of us, to transform, connect, and inspire. We're collaborating with Fama Foundation to build a school in Rancho Graciando Sanchez, which is in Jalisco, Mexico. And so if we have some time at the end, Rourke will spend a little bit of time talking about this, but we have information here about how you can donate if you're interested in doing that. And then upcoming, we have our homeless shelter on May 11th. We have our club social on May 19th, and the theme is Mayday, Mayday, ship bingo. So it's May, and so we're going to celebrate May by doing bingo. And then on Wednesday, June 2nd, Melissa, who's on the call today, is going to be our speaker. She's going to be looking at ways that we can and have been transformed this last year through acts of compassion and understanding. So looking forward to having her speak next month when I won't be on the hot seat. Okay, so Karen, do you want to introduce me, or do you want me to introduce myself?
Go for it.
Oh, go for it. Okay. Anyway, you can read all this. You might have seen the invite, but I've been in tech forever and ever. As Cindy mentioned, I'm part of Oracle's Pride Network, and I have a lot of interests around Earth Health. I'm a facilitator for Pachamama Alliance, which is a great organization out of San Francisco. And Karen and I enjoy travel, photography. We do a lot with nonprofits, and we love spending time with our dear little, hopefully they'll be quiet tonight, Karen Terrier Poodle mix of salt and pepper. So that's about the Rotary. So let me switch now to my presentation, and we will take a quick trip around the world. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on any one slide, because I want you to get kind of a feel for the various places that Karen and I have been. I have been extremely fortunate to travel widely, a lot due to work and a lot due to just my desire to go out and see the world. I believe in immersing myself wherever I am. I've probably done the best job of that in India, and I have some stories to tell about life in India. So when I get to that section. So who knows what this is a picture of? Does anyone recognize this?
I do. And I've been there. It's a
Okay.
I've been there.
All right. Okay, some
Oh,
fellow
look.
travelers. Okay, so this is Angkor Wat, and so you'll hear all about Angkor Wat in Cambodia pretty soon. Okay, so I want to start off with, I've interspersed a few travel quotes through this because I think it's kind of, these quotes kind of help me orient to why I like to travel. So the world is a book, and those who do not travel read only one page. I just think it's so much fun and so enlightening to travel and learn about other cultures and realize how small we are compared to the world, size of the world, and how different we are from other people and how much we're the same as other people. And so travel to me is very life-giving. And this is a picture of the rainbow walkway in, and I'm not going to even attempt this, in a city in Iceland. It was a great foggy day, and we kind of happened upon this little street, and I'm really glad that we did because it was a nice day. Okay, so as I mentioned, Angkor Wat. So this picture up in the right-hand corner is of us standing with a crowd waiting for sunset to happen at Angkor Wat. And so you take a tuk-tuk or any kind of vehicle, you get to Angkor Wat in the dark, you walk toward this temple, you're not really sure exactly where it is, you're not really sure where the water is that you're standing by, and then you wait for sunrise. And it was just amazing once the sun came up to see how many people were around you and just the great views. And I took, I always take like 1,000 pictures. I took at least 1,000 pictures of Angkor Wat. And so here are some other scenes from Angkor Wat. We were able to walk up into the main temple and look out. So this picture on the right is looking out over the compound. So for those of you who haven't been to Angkor Wat is a huge compound, and there's various temples and various, parts of it. And so when we were there, we visited, I think, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 different sites. And so this was the main temple area. And then this is Top Rome. So you may recognize this because the Raiders of the Lost Ark was filmed on site at this location. So there's some familiar scenes, that you may recognize here. But I love this because of the size of the trees and how the trees are overtaking, the roots of the trees are overtaking the structure. And it's just a very mysterious place and a very beautiful place. And then this is the gates of, and I have to move my bar again so I can read my captions. The gates of Angkor Thom. And Angkor Thom is, again, part of the Angkor Wat facility. And this picture here shows what the faces would have looked like when they were freshly done. And this is what they've looked like now, being aged, thousands of years. And I always am excited when I see monkeys or any creatures. So, everybody else is taking pictures of the structures and I'm off chasing the monkeys. So Karen always has to watch for me running off chasing creatures. And then Angkor Thom. So this is, again, part of the Angkor Wat structure. And there's little Buddhist temples all over, little Buddhist structures. And, they dress and they're very ornate. Very bright colors compared to the stone colors of the structures and the carving. And of course, I also love taking pictures of people. You'll see, not only creatures and close-ups of structures, architecture and relics and things like that, but I like capturing people. And these were 2 Buddhist monks that were at this temple in Angkor Thom. And then you can't go to Cambodia without going to the killing fields. And it's a very sad place to be, but it's a very important part of Cambodia's history. And I think it's important to realize what happened to the Cambodians, during this time when there was so much killing going on. And I feel a strong connection with a lot of the places that I travel, but I feel a strong connection to Cambodia because my hairdresser of 30 some years is from Cambodia, and she actually escaped Cambodia during the time of the killing fields. And so she tells stories, and it was just, very meaningful to be there and, see what the people went through in Cambodia. And the picture on the right of all the skulls, it's a very interesting. So when you first walk into this one particular field where we went, there was a structure off in the distance, and it looked like a beautiful temple. And then as you get there, you realize that all that's inside the temple are bones. And so there's, tons of bones and skulls, and, just it's really heartbreaking to think of how many people died. And the other misconception I had was that the killing fields were just a small, one place or two places in Cambodia, and they weren't. They were all over Cambodia. And I don't think they've ever really figured out how many people were killed during that horrible time. But, again, part of immersing yourself in the culture is understanding some of the history that the people in that culture have gone through. Now, I'm a sucker for a Buddhist temple, and so I love the colors. I love the calmness. I'm always taking pictures in Buddhist temples, and this is the Mountain Pagoda, Wat Panom, in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. And again, I really like the serenity of the Buddhist face. And many of you who know me know that I have a decent collection of Buddhist and Hindu sculptures that I've picked up over the years. And I like the Cambodian Buddhist look over, like maybe the Chinese Buddhas. I like this particular look just because it brings me so much peace. And then moving on to Vietnam. So I don't know if any of you have been to Ha Long Bay, but this is a beautiful water place. And we spent one night on a junk ship. So this was during a trip that we took to Vietnam and Cambodia. We did a combination of busing and being on a boat that went down the Mekong Delta. And then, like I said, we spent one night on a junk ship overlooking or, sailing through Ha Long Bay, and stopped on one of the little islands and went to some caves and looked at the floating villages. And again, it's such a unique place. And if you ever have a chance to visit there, I highly recommend it, getting out on the water and seeing these beautiful limestone structures. So a few more views. The two top views are from where we went into the caves. And then all the bottom structure or the bottom pictures are of these amazing floating villages that they have around. A lot of the people that live in these floating villages take their boats out into the bay and into the ocean and do fishing. And then they use their boats. They sell all their wares right off the boat. So some of them are craftspeople, and so they'll come around to the junk ships and try to sell whatever it is that they have. And of course, there's also dogs on these floating villages. And so I had to and cat. I got a picture of a cat and a dog because I'm drawn to animals and seeing how they live in the places that I visit as well. And then these are sites from Hanoi. So our trip to Vietnam and Cambodia started in Hanoi, and Hanoi is fairly far north in Vietnam and close to China. So it has, the temples kind of have, to me, more of a Chinese feel with the red lacquer and, kind of different kinds of creatures. And they're again, just very ornate and beautiful. And the temple grounds and, the other places that we've been to had a lot of flowers. So the two far right pictures show some flowers that were at a temple. And then the other one is one that was at another structure that we visited. And so they, build these things out of flowers. It's just amazing. And then again, the top pictures, me and, trying to take some pictures that show what life is like there. And, the picture with the guy with all the waters and sodas and whatever he had just really reminded me of what I've seen in India as well, with these small vehicles carrying huge heavy load. And so I find that always just interesting to see how things are transported in different countries. And then I love taking people pictures, as I've said. And so these were some people in Kampong Chhnang, Vietnam. And then back to another quote: our happiest moments as tourists always seem to come when we stumble upon one thing while in pursuit of something else. And I love, this is a sign from India, and I love this quote, and it's like, it obviously wasn't translated quite right. So it's kind of charming. Please leave your footwear here. for one set of footwear. So I'm not sure, if this is like an opportunity to exchange footwear or what it is, but anyway, so I like finding signs like that that just make me giggle, and I hope that I'm not offending their culture when I giggle at the translations that don't quite probably fit exactly what they were trying to talk about. So now we're going to go to India. So I'm sure all of you recognize the Taj Mahal. One trip to Delhi, I spoke at a conference in Delhi, and I was with a colleague, and we had planned to go visit the Taj Mahal on Saturday, thinking that the conference was Thursday, Friday, and then we were flying out on Sunday. Well, we went down the first morning of what I thought was the conference, and it was the pre-conference, which meant the conference was actually also on Saturday, and so I wouldn't have a chance to go to the Taj Mahal. So I went to the front desk and I said, I need an emergency trip to the Taj Mahal. And they said, sure, we can arrange that. And they did. And that's, amazing thing about India is they're very accommodating of tourists. And so, we got a driver, he whisked us off. I mean, we weren't able to spend a whole lot of time because we, probably left like 4 or 5 hours after, the normal tour buses would have left from Delhi. But, the good news is we had our personal tour guide, and it's just an amazing structure. And again, with the Taj Mahal, it's not just this building, there's other buildings, at the location. And so you can explore, so much of this. And this structure is unique because the poles, or the towers on the four corners, are actually slightly leaning outward, so that if they ever fell, they wouldn't fall and hit the structure. And so I find that architecturally very interesting. And there's so much about different religions in this building. So this is a Muslim building, but there are Christian and Hindu symbols in the tiles around the Taj Mahal as well. And so, I find that very interesting as well, that, that the person, or, the king, or the ruler who built this structure was open-minded enough and welcoming of other religions to actually build that into the structure. And so a few more views from the Taj Mahal, and the one in the middle bottom is looking from the Taj Mahal out to the gates that you come through as you're going, as you're coming into the main structure. And again, you can kind of see some of the tile work, and a little bit up close what the gardens, and India is just really well known for very well manicured gardens, and you'll see some more of that later in a couple slides. I have one palace that has just amazing gardens. This is Charminar in Hyderabad. So Hyderabad is central-ish India. Hyderabad was one of the cities that the Muslims remained in when the Hindus and the Muslims split, and many of the Muslims went to Pakistan, but many of them stayed in Hyderabad. And so Old Town Hyderabad is kind of a very a Muslim center, and there's a mosque, and I went to the mosque as well. I always, I travel a lot to India for work, and whenever I'm there, I want to go explore, and again, I want to immerse myself in the culture. And so I've gone to people's homes, and they've just been very gracious, taking me all over. And you'll see one of my friends from India, Vinodini, has taken me all over Bangalore area, and just to some incredible places. You can actually walk up into the Charminar structure, and you can see some people up here. Let me point to this. So there's people up in this area. I've been up this tower and walked around, and the views from here are just amazing. And what I like about the Old Town Hyderabad is that you'll see all these people selling flowers, selling spices, working on handicrafts. Hyderabad is known for its bangles. And so down, near Charminar, you'll find, bangle after bangle shop. And, I've been with some of my friends who are really great at negotiating and getting great deals on bangles. And I probably have more bangles than, any piece of jewelry. And so great reminder of my trips to India. And so this is the mosque that is near Charminar in Hyderabad. And, wasn't obviously not allowed to go where the men were praying, but, kind of hung out, and there were some kids there. And so, I took a picture of a child. And I mean, it's just an interesting place to be. And when you're in Charminar area, you see very few Caucasians, you see very few, people that are not dressed in burqas and, full coverings, and the women anyway. And, you'll see like, 3 people on a bike, a mother, a father, and a little kid, or, whatever. I mean, a lot of Indians ride motorbikes. And so it's always very interesting. And I try to look people in the eye. And so, as I'm walking around feeling, very exposed, being a Caucasian in a place where, there aren't any other Caucasians, it's overwhelming sometimes. And so when you meet somebody's eyes and you smile at them, and they're smiling back based on their eyes, you feel like you don't feel as overwhelmed or as insecure. And so, I love that, connecting with people. And so this is in Lapakshi, India. So I love to go temple hopping when I'm in India, mostly Hindu temples, but I've been to Jain temples, and obviously the mosque that I just showed. My friend Vinodini up in the picture here is somebody that Karen worked with in the US, and then she was H-1 visa during a really hard time in the US and ended up getting laid off and had to go back to India. And so almost every trip I've taken to India, I have spent time with her and her husband, going to places, and we've kind of run out of things close to Bangalore. And so, like Lapakshi was probably like a 2-3 hour drive outside of Bangalore, but, again, just very gracious in taking me to these places. And, one thing that you see a lot of, in India is, the feet of the god. Indians will put flowers and puja, which is, they do a ritual, and so you'll see flowers by the foot of God, which I find interesting. And you find in some of these older temples just, incredible carvings in stone, and, it's just amazing place to be, and so peaceful and serene and mysterious, and everything all in one. And then another temple, this is in Nandi, again, a very old temple, and you'll see that, they have done some ceremony over by where Vinodini is standing, the flowers, and, again, there will be, they'll just make it ornate, with flowers and offerings and whatnot. So that, I like seeing that. I like watching them do the rituals. I've gone through and had rituals done, blessings done, things like that. And, there's nothing like that. Then we went up to the hills. So outside of Nandi, where that last temple was, there's a hilltop and a temple on the hilltop. And of course, me and my monkey. So I'm off, taking pictures of monkeys while Vinodini and her husband are off looking at the sights and looking at the valley below and seeing if they can see Bangalore off in the distance, and I'm chasing monkeys. And then this is also in Hyderabad. This is the Taj Falak Numa Palace. So this is something, if you watch The Amazing Race, they actually had a competition at this palace, and it sits on a hilltop overlooking Hyderabad and has, just an amazing view of Hyderabad, and, now turned into a Taj property. Taj is one of the leading hotel chains in India, and just, an incredible place to stay. I'd love to spend more time there. Then when I go to India, this was during the during Pongal festival, which is a harvest festival in Hyderabad. So there's a lot of different festivals that are very earth oriented in India. I was really excited to be there for this one. And what they do is they paint pots, which is to symbolize growth of plants. And then they do bamboo. So you'll see the bamboo, no, sugarcane, not bamboo, sugarcane pieces. So they harvest sugarcane, and then there's lots of flowers. So you'll see the flower market. And so one night after work during the Pongal festival, I said to 4 of my Caucasian fellow travelers from Oracle, I said, let's go down to the bazaar. I want to take some pictures. I know they're going to have, they're celebrating their festival. And so there's going to be a lot of really interesting things at the market, and, I'd love to go see it. And they were like, oh, you got to be kidding. Why do you want to do that? Let's go back to the hotel. I'm like, no, come on, you guys, let's do this. And so I brought these guys with me, and, like the guy in the bottom corner, when I took his picture, I mean, again, it's like you feel like you connect with these people. They smile, they like having their picture taken. Some of them, I mean, not all of them, you get a little bit of pushback sometimes, but I love that connection. And after these guys saw me doing this, they kind of eased into, okay, this is an okay place to be. Let's see what, and they kind of got into to being, being in that place and not just being, at work in the hotel and at work in the hotel. And so I hope that, I inspired them to go out and, do a little bit of exploration. All right. India is also very well known for its sanctuaries, animal sanctuaries, bird sanctuaries. So I've been to this bird sanctuary. I mean, incredible birds there. Tons of bats. I don't have any really good pictures of the bats, but a lot of bats flying overhead, and then crocodiles in the water, coming out of the water. And so you're in this like little rickety boat, and you're hoping that you don't tip over, and taking all these, trying to get some good shots of the birds. But just a beautiful, really serene place again to be. This is probably like a couple hours outside of Bangalore. All right, and then if we live in a world, if we live in a wonderful world that is full of beauty, charm, and adventure. There's no end to the adventures we can have if only we seek them with our eyes open. And so I think that kind of represents how I try to travel, with my eyes open, and again, the spirit of adventure. So now we're going to go to Galapagos, where we found out that we all love boobies. There are so many kinds of boobies, and boobies are the birds. These are blue-footed bird. This is a blue-footed booby on the left there, with its child, which is almost as big as she. I assume it's a female. But there's like 3 or 4 different kinds of boobies, and again, Galapagos, tons of birds, tons of other creatures, very unspoiled for the most part, and you're able to get really close to a lot of the creatures. So I have some more pictures. So sea lion, or sea lions. Are these sea lions? I think these are sea lions. Seals? Karen, do you remember?
Sea lions, sea lions.
Sea lions. Okay,
lions.
sea lions.
Mhm.
Sea lions. And
California sea lions.
okay. And so the picture up in the upper left, I actually gave to one of my friends who's an artist to paint for me. And so she painted it, and I think it's beautiful, but Karen doesn't like it because it looks like floating heads. But I tend to like to take really close-ups of animals. I don't like, to take the whole picture of the body and everything. And I always, for the dog rescue organization that we work with, I'm always taking, close-ups of the heads. And I keep being told that, people want to know what the body looks like too, but I have a hard time with that. I like faces and other parts. And then you also see turtles and lizards, and there are marine iguanas that, as you're snorkeling in parts of Galapagos, you'll look over and it will look like Godzilla coming to get you, swimming in the water. So that was kind of unnerving, but again, just some amazing creatures. And the birds, you see all kinds of different birds. I don't remember what the one in the upper left is, but pelicans. You see albatross. You'll see frigates. I mean, just living alive with birds. And tortoises and Darwin finches and other birds. I really, the tortoises, I think they're very, I mean, they're a reptile, but they look, they just look like very old creatures. I think I'm pretty proud of the picture in the upper right-hand corner, because that was like caught in just an instant when the finch was sitting on this woman's hat. And, it was just kind of fun to notice that I actually caught that, because I saw it happen, and I'm never sure if I catch the things that I want to catch, when I get back and look through my 2,000 pictures from a day's worth of exploring, and was happy to get that one. And then the landscape is like none other. And this is Santiago. And so this is an island that all the lava flows are still very well preserved. There's nobody living on this island. And so you'll get all these different views of how the land was formed, through lava. I just, think all these things of, on the right-hand side, those 4 shots of the different lava flows are just pretty amazing. And then we're going to move on to Tahiti. So Tahiti has lots of flowers, jungles, and beautiful water. I don't have very many pictures of Tahiti for some reason. I don't think I was quite into taking pictures when we went to Tahiti, which means we have to go back and get more pictures. But we were on a boat. We traveled around a bunch of different islands in Tahiti. We took a bunch of a jungle trip ride, on one island. We went out and looked for whales on another trip. We did a drift snorkeling, which I have some pictures of. And, we just did a lot of exploring of the various various Tahitian islands. On one of the islands, Karen and I walked up this very steep hill to get a view of the neighborhood, around. And I don't have a picture of that either, but we were both very hot, and people that had taken an excursion on these little four-wheelers came by and basically threw water at us because we'd run out of water. But the view from the top was amazing. And one thing that we spotted was a cemetery down below. And so we always like to go to the cemeteries too. I don't necessarily take a lot of pictures of the cemeteries when we travel, but I think you learn about the culture in terms of what they do to honor their dead as well. And as we then left the top of the mountain, we decided we were going to go find the cemetery. And we were followed by somebody who I think just wanted to know what we were doing. But then we asked for directions. We said we wanted to go to the cemetery, and they were very helpful. And then as we walked down this road, we heard all this music, and it was actually people that had been on our boat entertaining us, practicing. And so we got to hear their music again. And I mean, those little magical things I think happen to us a lot because we're open, and we don't just, again, we didn't just stay on the boat and go to the swimming pool. We got out and walked around, and didn't take an excursion that day, and just made our own way around and explored. And this is drift snorkeling in Tahiti. So what you do is you walk out to the edge of the atoll, and then as the waves come in, you snorkel. You don't even have to work. It's just the waves kind of pushing you back toward the island. And you see it, again, these are not necessarily award-winning photos because, underground or underwater photography is pretty tricky. But, we see a lot of fish and urchins and just a lot of very interesting things under the water. So, we like to go up in the sky, on the land, under the water. We travel, go to as many different dimensions of travel as we can. And in Mexico, and the shot on the bottom right is kind of one of my signature shots in terms of, I usually take a picture of, when we're snorkeling, of my painted toes and through my snorkel fins, and that's kind of one of my signature shots. But we spent some time in Mexico. We've been to Cancun. We were at the Club Med at the tip of Cancun. And it's an interesting place because part of the beach is a natural preserve. And so we snorkeled there and saw some incredible coral. We saw rays, this interesting looking ray that I had never seen before. And then so we would snorkel in the morning there. And then in the afternoon, we would snorkel off the white sand beach. There was a rock, rock wall kind of thing on one side, and a lot of fish along the wall. But that was a kind of a different, much different, no coral or anything like that, but a lot of fish. And I remember Karen chasing a very large bluefish until I couldn't see her anymore. It kind of was a little crazy, but she was out for that perfect shot of this huge fish. And the sunsets in Mexico over the water, just, pretty incredible. And then Sea of Cortez, we took a trip up the Sea of Cortez, went to Magdalena Bay to see whales. The far right is a blue whale. Again, these shots, the shots of whales, I've never really gotten very good shots of whales or anything in the water because they just move too fast, and my camera is not as good, not good for those kinds of shots. But we have been around a lot of water creatures, and I love that. Sea of Cortez is also kind of like the Galapagos in terms of some of the terrain. Not a lot of growth, a lot of rock structures, lots of birds. I like the whale mural on the side of the building. As we were cruising by, there was this little village, and they had their little mural to honor the whales in the water. And I mean, it's also an incredible place for sea life and bird life. One's destination is never a place, but a new way of seeing things. And so again, I think it's important to keep an open mind when you're traveling and try to see things through others' eyes and learn from that. So Holland is an incredible place. Holland and Belgium, we took a riverboat through those areas, from Amsterdam down to close to Brussels, I believe it was. And so, again, being on the water and exploring great places. Amsterdam itself is a great place. Lots of art and coffee shops that aren't really coffee shops, and sculptures and things like that. I don't remember the name of the city. This might have been in Belgium somewhere, but Karen and I took a walk off the boat and just kind of explored this little marina area. And I just loved the reflections of these buildings in this, beautiful still water. Just thought that was pretty amazing. And then if you go to Amsterdam or go to Holland, you can't go without a trip to the Keukenhof Tulip Gardens. And we actually were in Holland close to Karen's birthday, and Karen loves tulips. I love sculptures, and there were plenty of sculptures at the gardens as well, but just some amazing tulips and just, acres and acres of tulips and all different kinds. And they get very creative with their gardens, and, it's just an amazing place to be. And then the Kroller Mueller Museum. So there's an outdoor sculpture museum, an indoor museum, and then you can also take a bike around the property. And we just about missed our bus back to the boat because we got lost. And so I'll always remember this museum, not by seeing the museum, but remembering that we almost didn't make it back to the museum on the bikes that we took around the area. But again, just incredible sculptures, incredible place to be. Okay, and now we're going to move to Iceland. So Iceland, I think, was probably one of our most recent trips. And there's my signature shot of my painted toes. I painted them blue to go with the blue lagoon. This is a natural warm springs, and you go in and you get this white mud that you soak yourself. You better not soak yourself. You put all over your face and your arms, and then you dunk yourself in the water. And I mean, it's just an incredible feeling, and you just feel very refreshed after you go here. But this was our last stop before heading back to the US, getting back to the plane and taking off. And I just thought it was a great way to end our trip to Iceland. We started our trip in Iceland on Flatty Island, and the boat that we were on was that National Geographic boat on the bottom left. They don't, there's no pier or anything like this at many of these islands. So you bring a Zodiac from the ship to the island, and it's a very small island. And we were told, oh, you can hike around it. It's so small. And we thought, oh, why not? And so we took a hike around it, and it was actually a big island, and it was a lot longer than we thought we were, a lot longer hike than we were led to believe. And I remember falling down at one point and just laughing. I just couldn't, I was so tired, I couldn't get up. All I did was just laugh. But I mean, incredible views and just, great island. Iceland is a very unique place. Lots of waterfalls. So Gotafoss and Dinjani waterfall, two of the probably more well-known waterfalls in Iceland. And again, just real beautiful outdoor places. Karen was at Gotafoss. Karen was perfecting the art of using her selfie stick to take shots, and I know she got some really great shots with her selfie stick. Then we also went to Grimsey Island, which is close to the Arctic Circle. I don't know if you know this, but the Arctic Circle moves slightly, inches a year, maybe not quite that much, but it does kind of move. And so they move this stick around to say, where the Arctic Circle is. And we actually got a little pin that said we hiked across the Arctic Circle. And this island is the most well known for its puffins. There's puffins there on the right, and you'll see them often with fish in their mouth. This is a huge cliff where they go down into the water. They feed on the fish. They'll come up and they'll be eating the fish as they're sitting on the cliff. And then there's always the sheep of Iceland. You find sheep a lot of places that you go. And again, me taking pictures of creatures, I couldn't resist taking pictures of these lovely sheep. There's also glaciers. And so we drove by Vatnajökull, and then we got in an all-terrain vehicle that was land, and then it went into this lagoon. And so it became a boat. And so you're floating around all these icebergs that are coming off the glacier and heading out to sea. And you just see incredible shapes and incredible colors. And it's just again, just pure beauty at your fingertips there. And I chose to go horseback riding. And so the horses in Iceland are kind of short and stout and feisty, as you can tell from that picture. There's a guest house, which is on the bottom right there. The guest house, you can stay at the guest house, or you can come and take horseback riding. And so some of us from the trip decided to go horseback riding, and it was just wonderful being out there in the, being out there in nature on top of a horse, seeing other parts of Iceland that I would not have seen had I not taken the horse ride. And I don't know if you can tell in the upper right-hand side, but you can actually see me taking the picture of the horse in the horse's eye. And so that's another picture that I'm kind of proud of. I think that was fun to take that. But again, I like taking close-ups, eyes. I took a really nice picture of a snout, and it almost looks like you can reach out and touch it and feel how soft it is. All right, now we'll move to Alaska. So we've been to Alaska a couple of times, once on a small boat, once on a large boat. And Alaska scenery is just incredible. Glaciers, beautiful sunsets, seeing parts of the glacier fall into the water, tons of birds around the glaciers, just again, incredible views. Floating ice chunks. Again, we took a little Zodiac out, and this was kind of like the thing in Iceland where there's chunks of ice, and we just toured around and saw the ice floating around. And then Glacier Bay. This is probably one of the most well-known areas for glacier hunting. And so we definitely went there and saw a lot of the big boats buzz in and buzz out, and we kind of spent a little bit more time. We visited this when we were on the small Nat Geo boat, and so saw that a little bit closer up than some of the bigger boats. And then we stopped in one city. So the week that we were in Alaska, we started out in one city, ended in another, and then we're basically in nature, except for like halfway through the trip when we went to Petersburg. And you see the Scandinavian influence in this fishing village. They definitely have a lot of Scandinavian looking wares, which I'd like to see. They also had an Elks Lodge. So I took a picture of that. It's not here, but I took a picture of that for my mom. And Karen and I just kind of walked off down this one lane. Karen said, let's go down there. Karen's always really good about, kind of pointing out, let's go try something. And this is where we found all these eagles on the far left and watched them fly around. And, they were just kind of hanging out in this area. So we got some interesting shots of them. And then the totem poles are just amazing in Alaska. I love seeing how the carvings are done, and you can see these a lot. And then, now these are sea lions. No, sea lions? Karen, help me out here.
Yes, those are sea lions too.
Oh,
They
sea
have
lions.
the ears.
Okay, are these the stellar sea lions? I think that's what they are.
Yes.
Anyway, so we were out in a Zodiac boat and got up close and personal with these guys out fishing. And then I am happy to say that life is better shared with a partner who loves to travel. And this is a quote from Karen. I better get the 5-year versus the 2-year travel shots, because God only knows where you're going to drag me next. So that is my travel story. Thank you for listening. Any questions?
Wow,
So impressive, Cheryl.
that is incredible.
It's fun.
Are there any places that you want to do a repeat in any different way?
Tahiti for sure.
And
Yeah.
Santorini.
Oh, Greece, yes. And I don't have any pictures of Greece. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of the early gone, we didn't have really nice cameras, right? And so I think it's just, I mean, I want to go places with my better cameras now, right? But there's also so many places to explore in our, I said somewhere along the line that we've spent the pandemic kind of refining our bucket list. We were supposed to be in Antarctica right about now. Was it now or? Yeah, right about now. So we had to cancel that one.
So did
anyway,
you just have them lined up and you're just checking off the ones you couldn't do and the next one is already planned?
we don't have anything planned yet. We're waiting to see what happens. A lot of our friends that booked through Olivia, which is a lesbian travel company, they're a small business, and they ended up with some probably financial challenges. And so people that had trips canceled were not getting refunds. And so, we'd like to travel with Olivia because it's a fun way to travel. But I want to wait until things are a little bit more solid. We've traveled with Nat Geo, Lindblad. I think that's a really good one. We've been on the Windstar. We went to the Caribbean. I don't have any pictures of that in here. We went to the Caribbean on the Windstar. That's a beautiful boat. It's a sailing vessel and they put up their sails when there's wind, but otherwise they're motorized. And I mean, that's an incredible. I'd love to do like the British Isles on a Windstar. That would be interesting.
Yeah, they have about 130 cabins, so they're
Mhm.
small.
They're small. Yeah. So we've done a lot of small boat, a lot of big boat, riverboat, land trips. But yeah, so I'd love to, if anybody ever wants to go to any of these places, I'm happy to give tips. I love sharing what I've learned and
All of
all
them.
kinds of stuff. All of
Have you ever been to South America?
just Ecuador. So when we
Okay.
went to the Galapagos, we spent some time in Guayaquil. Guayaquil?
Yep, that's the name.
Guayaquil. Yeah. So we spent a little bit of time there. I didn't include any pictures there, but yes, that's the only exposure I have to South America.
Okay.
But-
What is the total count of all the photos you have?
Total count. Okay, so this exercise of getting ready for this presentation made me realize that I have a huge project ahead of me to get all my pictures in order. Because I have, most of these were on Dropbox, because I used to have this discipline of creating like my favorites, going through my, like I'll probably take like 5,000 pictures during a trip or more. And so it takes me weeks and weeks to go through them. I get my favorite ones, I label them with exactly, what it was. So I try to remember. And some of these I didn't label, or, they weren't from my Dropbox, so they weren't labeled properly. But, I'm going to forget all the names. So I try to do that quickly. So God knows how many I have. Dropboxes are, I have a lot in Dropbox, and then I have 2 hard drives that are full of pictures, and I keep all my chips just in case something ever happens. It's like I'm paranoid about that, but I've got a huge project ahead of me to get these organized and
So multiple terabytes worth.
I'm
Easily,
sure that's what I was
easily.
thinking.
Yeah, easily. And then I also shoot NEF. Is it NEF?
Yeah.
Mm.
NEF
Raw.
version raw, in case
Yeah.
I ever, decide to get fancy and, do Photoshop or do other fancy stuff to these things. But
Yeah, the
God
raw
knows.
file formats are much larger too.
yeah. So I save those. Hey, Vidya, I see you're back. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, she's been there.
Oh, okay,
And we
good.
had, we also shoot a lot of videos. So like all the drift snorkeling, and stuff, there's a whole bunch of videos too. So those are huge file sizes.
I had a question about Angkor Wat. The sculptures that you showed, do they let you touch them?
Yeah, I mean, they do. What's interesting, I mean, when we were there, so when was that? 2003? No, 13.
13, I think.
Yeah,
Cheryl.
2013. So, I mean, nothing was roped off.
Wow.
I mean, you have basically a lot of access to that stuff. So I can't imagine that they're going to keep it that way,
Mm.
because that's just kind of crazy. And,
Are
but
they made of stone or are they
stone,
clay and then, oh, they are stone.
it's all stone.
Oh,
Was your Cambodia and Vietnam trips, they were the same trip?
Yeah,
Multiple locations?
yeah, that was the same trip, and that was an Olivia trip. So we were separated into like 3 or 4 bus loads of people.
Mhm.
And we were the green bus, and we're still in touch with a lot of those people that were on the green bus. We just,
Oh,
because we traveled mostly, I think most of Vietnam was on, no, I don't know, probably like half of it was, maybe not quite half, but a lot of it was on bus. And then we got on a boat and went down the Mekong River, Mekong Delta, and stopped
Right.
off at different villages, and took different modes of transportation, took these little tuk-tuks, took like a ox-drawn cart,
Mhm.
got on. And anyway, each of these islands is or each of these spots kind of known for different things. And I mean, it's pretty incredible. But that was an Olivia trip, and they plan the whole thing. They bring the entertainment, it's just, it's kind of a good way to travel.
Yeah.
They're pretty amazing.
so you only did northern Vietnam?
No, we ended in Saigon,
Okay.
Yeah.
where I
So I've done
actually,
central and south, but I haven't gone up north.
yeah, it's just interesting. I'm not, I think I like South. Well, I
Me
mean,
too.
Saigon
Food is
is,
better.
yeah, Saigon is very, well, I mean, obviously influenced by the French, right? And so like the hotels and stuff have a lot of stained glass, and I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, it feels very European to me.
Yeah, the
So
food
Cheryl,
is-
Why didn't you have any pictures of the 2 drag shows that we saw through Cambodia?
I've missed
I'd
that.
like to see that.
Yeah, we saw,
Yeah.
we went, yeah, we went to one drag show that was out in like just this little street market kind of thing. I don't know how to describe it. It had like these like three walled stalls kind of things. And that, so it was like a little business was in this like partial building. And so there was a drag queen or drag show in one of those, and they were like neighborhood people and not very good, but kind of charming. And
Mhm.
then, and that was near Siem Reap. And then in Phnom Penh, we went to a club that was very fancy in this upstairs of this large building, and just, I mean, like top of the line kind of nightclub. And they were incredibly beautiful. I mean, it was just like, completely polar opposite drag queen kind of show, right? But that one was interesting because when we left, one of the gals we were with got in a fight with one of our tuk-tuk drivers about how much money it was going to cost us to get back to the boat. And I wasn't sure if we were going to make it back to the boat, but we did.
Oh, definitely adventurous. Thank you, Cheryl, for sharing with us.
You're
You've
welcome.
inspired all of us, I think, to
Yeah, go
Definitely.
explore
go
the
as far
world.
as we can possibly. It's just amazing. So